Right, we are live. Okay, so welcome to day 3 of World Seagrass Day, and we, our theme remains the same. It's dugong conservation and habitat restoration, but we'll shift from the last 2 times we had the sessions. We had it on habitat restoration and seagrass restoration, and we spoke about blue carbon. But today we are going to actively talk about the other part, move a bit towards the top of the tropic cycle, and we'll talk about dugongs. We'll talk about their monitoring. We'll talk about the situation that we have in Thailand, where we understand from the media sources, and I think Dr. New will be able to shed some more light upon it. But then we understand from what we read is that there's some dugong crisis going on in Thailand. We are seeing a massive, hectares and hectares of seagrass decline, and dugong mortality rates are high there. So I think New will be able to tell us more about it, and he's been working extensively there. But before Dr. New begins, I'd like to invite my colleague here for some contextual talk to set the stage for Dr. New so he can carry on. So I'd like to welcome my colleague Sagar Rajpurkar. Sagar Rajpurkar is currently a PhD scholar here at WII. He is also a drone pilot and he's a marine biologist. He's been extensively working in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and also in the southern India, monitoring the population through UAV surveys. He trains a lot of frontline officers and management bodies too. His PhD is on monitoring dugong behavior, the foraging meadows, dugong activities. He's working on activity budget analysis. And I think I'll just hand over to Sagar to hear his work, and then he can properly introduce our guest speaker, New. All right.
Thanks a lot, Samiha, for the introduction. I'll be starting with a small presentation. So, welcome everyone to the World Seagrass Day webinar 2026. As Samiha introduced me, I am Sagar Rajpurkar, working as a Principal Project Associate at the Wildlife Institute of India. So my work has been in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and I'll be sharing in brief what we are doing as a part of Campa Dugong Recovery Program in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So when we look at marine megafauna monitoring, there are 3 main survey techniques that are used. The first being the traditional boat-based surveys, wherein researchers go out at sea using boats and they try to locate the marine megafauna. The second being the aerial surveys, mainly using manned or unmanned aerial vehicles, which is like an aircraft which is modified for research or like a drone. And then the third being acoustic surveys, wherein audio mounts or recorders are used to listen to the sounds that these marine mammals make. So to study dugongs, all 3 methods are used, but I'll be focusing mainly on what we have been using more, which is like the aerial monitoring protocols that we have been using as a part of the Campa Dugong Recovery Project. So aerial surveys using drones are usually carried out in areas which are identified as critical dugong habitats in India based on the available literature, based on knowledge that we have from the fisher folks and our dugong volunteer network. And we use drones basically to survey in these areas which are rich in seagrasses to look for dugongs and understand their behaviors. And we record the footages and later which are analyzed to understand inputs or insights on dugong behaviors. So the method that we use are the first being the systematic survey methods, wherein we carry out aerial transects using a fixed protocol. So this is how the protocol looks like. The path of the drone is automated and strip transects are carried out in critical dugong habitats. Usually the drone is, we fly the drone at a height of 100 meters and we get a strip width of 130 meters with a camera facing downwards to a minus 90 degree. The speed of the drone is kept constant at 35 kilometers per hour, and we generally, complete 2 transects in one flight. So based on this and the surveys that we have done in Andaman Nicobar Island, we are trying to estimate the population that we have in Indian waters, especially in Andaman Nicobar Islands. These are few of the detections that we have got during our population estimation surveys. Right now, the previous estimate is basically a guesstimate, which is based off secondary evidences like interview surveys. And the second technique that we have been using in the Andaman Nicobar Islands is focal sampling to understand their behavior. So the drones usually detect the dugong using scan sampling, and then they are focal followed to gain insights on dugong behavior. So this is the first and the most noticed behavior that we can see. You can see the meadows here are sparse, and you can see dugongs feeding. Dugongs usually use two main techniques for foraging. The first being, feeding without plumes, and the second is feeding with plumes, wherein the dugong will actually graze into the sediment and feed on the seagrasses. The second being the traveling behavior, wherein dugongs travel from one meadow to the other. Most of the meadows in the islands are subtidal, and they kind of travel between meadows. So they spend a lot of time traveling, and this is the kind of observations that we have been able to get using drones. Dugongs also show other behaviors which are more playful in nature, like you have the rolling behavior of dugongs, wherein dugongs actually playfully just roll against sometimes the substrate just to scratch their back, so sometimes just as a playful gesture. So drones have actually helped us in getting all these insights. We also have been able to record the surfacing behavior, wherein we have seen them surface, and based on which we are trying to analyze the diving behavior and the time that they spend on the surface of the water. Here you can see a pair of mother and calf dugongs, which are surfacing in sync. We're also looking at the socializing behavior of dugongs, wherein we have had very few instances of socializing, wherein there have been no herds that we have recorded so far in our study of more than 3 individuals using drone surveys. But these are the kind of insights that we are getting from our study. So now over to new, wherein he will be talking more about what is happening on the Thailand coast of the Andaman Sea. So I'll quickly introduce New. We are delighted to welcome our next speaker, Dr. New, a researcher at the Dugong and Seagrass Research Station, Prince of Songkla University, Thailand, one of the most important dedicated dugong research centers in Southeast Asia. New completed his PhD in marine science at Newcastle University, United Kingdom, where his work focused on the interaction of marine mammal biology and conservation. His research asks some most urgent questions in our field today, like how dugongs are communicating, how they behave, and critically, how human activities disrupt both. New has expertise in visual and acoustic monitoring that places him at the front line of dugong research and dugong crisis, combining what we can see with and what we can hear beneath the surface to detect the earliest signals of dugongs in distress. In, in the region, on the edge of losing the species entirely, New's work focuses and it brings a new lifeline to dugong research. Please join me in welcoming Dr. New, and over to you.
Okay. Well, good day, everybody. Greetings from Thailand. My name is Thevarit Svarachorn, or you can say that my nickname is New. You can just call me New. It's shorter that way. So, thank you for the very good introductions. But I would like to reintroduce myself. So, I'm currently a university lecturer and a marine mammal biologist at Dugong and Seagrass Research Stations, the organization which is newly established 2 years ago at Prince of Songkhla University. So, yeah. So what are we talking here today? So obviously we are talking about the dugong, right? So, like I was introduced, okay, the slide, yeah. So, it's a really newly established organizations work under the university itself. So, but even though I'm working about the dugongs right now, but I would like to say that I have been working extensively with cetaceans since my bachelor's degrees. So dugong is they are marine mammal as well. So I'm trying to reintroduce some aspect that I work on the cetaceans and adapt the methods and adapt all the things that I have been learning for cetaceans into dugongs at works. So what about the dugongs? Well, we all know what dugongs are, right? And the seagrass. So I'm not going to spend time talking about that, but I'm going to focus on the current situations that happens in Thailand, particularly in the Andaman Sea. So there are two seas areas in Thailand. There are Gulf of Thailand in the east and the Andaman Seas in the west. So maybe if we are talking about the dugongs, right? So let's say, first of all, it's been believed and it's been estimated that there was around like 400 to 500 dugongs in Thailand, and particularly about like 300 or 250 or 300 in the Andaman Seas. But in Thailand, if we are talking about the dugongs, we are people's, both marine scientists and the public, knows that there's one place called Libong Islands. So Libong Islands here is in Trang province in Thailand in the Andaman Sea. So these islands has been called like a dugong paradise because I think the highest populations of the dugongs occurs in here in Libong Island. It has been known for around like 40 and 50 years that this is a very and one of the natural core habitats for the very large populations of the dugongs in Thailand. But you all may have heard that quite a few years ago, or maybe a recent years, starting in 2023, that something happens in Thailand. So there was an unprecedented massive loss of the seagrass in Thailand. I think we lost about 85% of the seagrass meadow in Thailand. So, yeah, it used to be a very green area of the Libong Islands. There's a lot of seagrass meadows on Libong Islands, and the local peoples know that because they have been born and raised seeing seagrass every day. And then suddenly, it started in 2018 and 2019. The seagrass meadow start to gradually decline. And then it took around 5 years. In 2023, the news went off. So the public knows about these issues and crises. Even though the local population, the local people, the local fishermen on the Libong Islands started to observe these events since like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was just on the news in the late 2023s. And then what happened? Everybody went bananas. So everybody went crazy because like it has never been found before. It's never happened before in Thailand that suddenly we lost all the seagrass. Just look at the pictures. It's like it took around like just 3 or 4 years to be from the really green area into nothing, into nothingness. So yeah. So the question is, what about the dugongs? Because we all know that dugongs only forage on seagrass, right? So if there's no seagrass, there's no food for the dugong. And what happens to these animals. So we used to believe that, well, I don't want to use the word believe, but it has been estimated that there was around 200 dugongs living on the Libong Islands. So it's considered to be the largest populations of the dugong in Thailand. But after the seagrass losses, there's been new estimations about the dugongs living near the off the Libong Islands. So you guys want to guess how many dugongs are now on Libong Islands? I may hear 100 or maybe 150, but actually no one knows. But it has been cited and estimated by many sectors, both private and government. So we estimate that from the recent year, in 2024 and 2025, there were around 20 dugongs off Libong Islands. So that's quite shocking, right? So after the new estimations, and again, people went crazy about that. Everyone's starting to panic. Both seagrass and dugongs were away. They were lost, drastically lost. So what happened? Well, not all of us were panic. There's been many study, observations, and surveys about that, about what happens to the dugongs nowadays. So from 200 to 20 dugongs in just a few years. So what happens to all the dugongs? I think I went to talking with the local and many people, and there was a widespreading belief that sea turtles was the main culprit, eating off the seagrass, eating all the seagrass. So, I mean, turtle can be one of the culprit, one of the main cause, or one of the cause, but I don't know who is the original idea of that. But I mean, you cannot blame on the sea turtle, just the sea turtles, because there's been discussing that, yeah, global warming was the main cause on that, but no one knows exactly what happens, why seagrass suddenly die off, and why the dugongs start to die. Yeah, many dugongs die for the past few years. So we start to do some observations and trying to learn that what happens to all of the seagrass and the dugongs. So let me be clear about this one. So there were many factors involving the loss of seagrass and the dugong. I think it's, well, personally, well, as a scientist, I don't like to use the word believe, but I would like to say that nature has its own cycle, whether it's just long cycle or short cycles. And we all know that human induce the cycles to be shortens the cycles. And this is not scientifically proof or anything. I just believe that nature has its own cycles, that if something is lost, it's going to be regenerate through times. But because humans just accelerate that decline, and maybe one of the main factor as well. But we have to, before we do anything, we must know the cause, right? So there's so many causes that make seagrass and dugongs went away. It can be natural. So yeah, predations and extreme weather and habitat loss is the main natural cause, natural threat to the loss of the dugong and seagrass. So are the disease and just natural mortalities as well. And also human factors. There's so many fisheries and the boat activities in both Gulf of Thailand and in Andaman Sea, whether it is fisheries or tourism, everything is that anthropogenic can be disturbed. The animals, not just for the dugongs, can be dolphins and whales as well. Boat strike, and it has been reported that there's some boat strike on the dugongs in Thailand. So, well, even though in the slide you see that that's manatee, not the dugong, but just to show the wounds from the boat strike, just obvious boat strike. So there's been report about the fishery bycatch for the dugongs, and you can see from like a autopsy, there's a wound that caused by the fishing gears and like gill nets or basically nets. So moreover, there are so many things like water pollutions, the sediments, the noise pollutions. There's so heavy traffic in Thai waters, whether it's fisheries and tourism, ferry or speedboat for many things. And another thing is about the seagrass loss. It can be caused by human as well, like from the factories, from the sediment, from the coastal development project, and many things. I think everything's work like is the cultivations of all the factors, not just environmental factor. It's more like it can be biotics, it can be abiotic as well. So are the hunting and the trash. So nowadays, yeah, we all know that dugong hunting has been prohibited for the past 40 years, 30 to 40 years. But it's still sometimes people still hunt for task and their tears. It still happens in Thailand, but not just like in the past, in the long distance past, because people knows and there are really strict enforcement. The governments and even in the private sector, they were really serious about this. So we have like a law and act enforcement about that to capture or hunt for the dugongs. And yet we still saw in the news that there are like a dugong skin, dugong's corpse. It was beheaded. It was like the teeth were removed. Yeah, something like that still happen in Thailand, but not that frequent. And the trash as well. So many plastic nowadays, right? And plastic and the trash or marine debris. So it was a very popular case back in 2019 that there was like a baby dugong. It's called Mariam. So she was dead in that year, and it was said it's one of the main factors that caused her death is the plastic. And so the plastic got into her system and make inflammations, and then just blood infections and lead to respiratory failure. So maybe many dugong should be dead for this factor as well. But like I said, there were so many factors that we need to consider it. For the past 5 years, that dugong has been starting to be to decrease through times. And another factors, this is from my own research during my PhD years. So aside from the trash and all the environmental factors, there were fishery factors as well. Like I mentioned before, that there are heavy fishing activities in Thai waters, and it has been estimated that dugong has been annually caught for like 72 dugongs caught annually. Even though the fishers they claim that they release all the dugong back to the sea alive, and still that's what they say. 72 dugongs per year caught per year. I mean, that's quite a large numbers, right? Not to mention for the cetaceans, it was a very high number. So and we have like an evidence on the dugong has been stranding on the beach for the past 20 or 30 years. Many of dugong, they saw like a wound from the fishing net and the gill net and the hook as well. So maybe not just for the seagrass loss, but seagrass loss definitely is the malnutrition from the seagrass loss is one of the main cause for the dugong mortalities in Thailand. But you should consider another factor as well. And last year, I mean, 1.5 years, more than 1 years ago, in the late 2024, one of my colleague in Dugong and Seagrass Research Station. So my colleague published the papers, and so they gathered the report from many places, especially from the DMCR, the Department of Coastal and Marine Resources. So they found that there were around 132 dugong strandings for the past 6 or 7 years. Yeah, during the 2018 to 2023. So there's a lot of numbers that dugongs found dead for like 5 to 6 years. So in the Andaman Sea, they were estimated there were around like 300 or around 400 dugong, but it had been dead for like 120 dugong. So yeah, but moreover, this is just from 2023. But in the recent years, the past 2 years, there have been reports from many sources that there were around 70 plus dugong found dead just in 2 years, right? So 120 and 70, that's around 190, right? 190 or about 200 dugong dead for the past 7 to 8 years. And now is the time for people to go crazy. It's like, yeah, we lost so much dugong in Thailand in just a few years. And what about it? But the silver lining is that in February 2025, I heard from the local people and some other sources that after 5 years of seagrass losses, yeah, I counted from like 2020, not just in 2023. So it has been 5 years later from the start of 6 or 7 years after the seagrass starting to get declining. So people said that people on Libong Islands, they found that seagrass are coming back. So they start to notice that there are more green area, more seagrass distributions around the islands. It's gradually start to recover by its own self. But there was a lot of people in the government sectors and the private sectors. They did a lot of seagrass rehabilitations and seagrass recovery or restorations programs, or the conservation campaigns after 2023. So it's been like 1 or 2 years that the public start to notice that this is the main and urgent issues that they need to solve. So yeah, and then last year, people, many marine scientists, they discovered that the dugongs may have migrated to the other province or other countries. Originally, they were the largest populations of the dugong here on Libong Island, right? So they said that they found the trail of the dugongs migrate down south to Malaysia, and some of the dugong migrate up to the north along the coast to Krabi, Phang Nga, Phuket, and even go up to Myanmar. So there was an evidence, there was trail, there was an insight. So it's my responsibility to see it with my own eyes. So October 2025, I have spent for the past 4 months, 4 months to track down, to trace down the Dugong's trail, and to doing my own research as well, doing my own study, my research with colleagues and the teams. So I went to 4 provinces. I went to Phang Phuket, Krabi, and Trans. Follow the trail of the dugongs up in the north. So you can see I'm currently living here in Hat Yai. It's my office here. The university is here in Songkhla. So I followed the trail and I saw that. So let's start with Phang Nga. There were around 20 dugongs living there currently, 20 plus dugong. So with the generosity of my colleagues and the DMCR, the Department of Marine and Coastal Resource, about their reports and about their observations, so I can follow the trail, the dugongs, up to these islands, to Pratong Islands. So we Thai peoples know that Libong Islands in Trang is the paradise of the dugongs. But personally, I think that this is the new paradise of the dugongs in Thailand, the Pratong Islands up in Phang Nga province. So because of the habitat there's a lot of canals, rivers, and a lot of natural shelters from the sea. So there were so many dugongs over there. There should be like 20 to 30 dugongs over there. So I and my colleague flew the drones to observe the dugong. So we found 20 plus of dugongs over here. And there's a lot of seagrass meadows still intact. I think Pratong Island still has the most abundant seagrass meadow in Thailand nowadays. Yeah. And then, like I mentioned before, this is the habitat of the Pratong Islands. So there's a lot of mangrove, and we saw a lot of seagrass meadow still intact, and some of them are fully recovered. And there's a lot of dugong feeding trails here in the seagrass meadows. I mean, there's plenty of seagrass over there in Got Pratong. And I think Got Pratong is one of the islands that I think it's not that super famous like Samui or Phuket Islands. There's still tourists there. There's still many boat activities over there, but it has not been tampered or that highly disturbed from the tourists and people in general. And there's some natural shelters from the storm, from the waves. So the dugong like to stay there calmly in the river, just sleeping and resting and foraging and do whatever they do in their life. So yes, it was quite surprised for me as well that they migrate up to the north in that. And we are not sure that we are not sure that the dugongs that currently living in Pratong Island is from entirely of the populations migrate from the Libong Islands. That's the questions for another day. But we start to see that there's a lot of dugongs living of these islands. And then we go down to Phuket. When I found just one dugong, I use plus because maybe there's more than one, but me and my colleagues saw just one dugongs over here. So but maybe because it's the residence dugongs over there, so maybe it's not it still has a seagrass meadow over there, but maybe not as large as the Prathong Islands. And then we went down to Krabi, to very huge area of this, the coastal line of the Krabi, Siboya, Po, and Jam Islands. So there are 3 islands, 4 or 5 islands over here, and the coastline. So I went there like 2 weeks ago, and I saw 10 around 10 plus dugongs over there, just living happily, eating seagrass all days. There's still a lot of seagrass meadows over here, yeah, and over here. Even though there are so many tourist activities and fishing activities over here, but there's many dugongs over here as well in Krabi. So we talked about 3 provinces, right? And what about the original paradise of the dugong in Trang? Well, I did some surveys last year in the mid 2025. I saw no dugongs, but some local people say that there were around 10 dugongs over there. 10, maybe 12 or 15 dugongs in Libong Islands. It's not the good news at all. But last week, my colleague and the DMCR, so they did some survey of the Libong Islands around here. So they found like there was like 30 plus dugongs over there. So everybody was like, they're coming back. It seems like they were coming back from 10 dugongs, 20 dugongs to 30 plus dugongs. Yeah, for over a year. So that's a very good signs. I presume it's a very good signs. And I'm going to confirm this next week, because I'm going to go to Libong Islands next week and going to stay there for like 2 weeks to do some surveys and doing my work over there. So it seems like good signs, right? But just to sum up all the numbers of the dugongs, so there should be around 60 plus dugong nowadays. At least I think it's the minimum numbers for the dugong populations in the Andaman Sea. It should be more than that because I didn't cover all the area. But we made a joke at the DSIS that I mean, so many dugong die for the past couple years, right? So if there are around 60 or 80 or hundreds of dugongs in the Andaman Sea nowadays, they should be the strong one, right? The weak ones, the ones that maybe the defective individuals were kind of compete with the others and couldn't find the seagrass meadow to eat, so they die. So the remaining ones are the strong one, or maybe the most adaptable, the most adaptive populations. Yeah. So we wish all the good luck to all the dugong to stay strong for a couple of years to see to wait for the seagrass to be fully recovered. We hope for the recent years, for the next couple of years, or in this or the next decades. So yeah, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's still bad. 60 or 70s. I hope there were. Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for the confirmation from the MCRs or other sector, other sector that to the surveys. So, but this is what we want to see. This photo was taken 4 days ago of Libong Islands by one of my colleagues. So they found like 33 dugongs over there. And this is the pictures that we would like to see. More of these pictures, more of the dugongs herd across the Andaman coast, not just for the Libong, in Panga, in Krabi, or maybe even in Satun, down to the south near the Malaysia. So we hope that the dugongs are recovering from the very dramatic loss living for the past 4 to 5 years. And so yeah, we hope so. So this is all the insight that I can possibly provide to you guys just for today. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Can you hear me? Yep. Right, New. Thank you so much for being here. We understand how busy you've been and trying to chase the trails all around Thailand. It must be quite taxing work. And I mean, it's admirable too what you and your team are doing. It's not some work that is mentally easy, you see, because you're working for this animal, you work for its conservation. That's what I mean. Our team is going through too. We're working day and night for its conservation, for some good news, and all we get every day is bad news, like continuous bad news, and then there's some good news popping up here and there. So we hold on to those. And thank you for sharing those good news with us too. I mean, it just gives us all a hope, you know.
They are coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, they are coming
Yes.
back.
They're coming back. Yep.
But not to
So,
be, but not to be so calm about that, because we need to hold this state. I mean, it has to be more recover through the years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we say as researchers, when we are on field and we work extensively on so many different habitats, and when we say, when it comes from us that it's coming back, it's coming, I think we should, we should already be, preparing for the worst case scenarios. Like, we should be doing that, because that is the only way things have a way of toning down once researchers say it's like give some positive news, right? So although things are bad, they look bad and they can take a turn of bad, for worse, but I think we need more awareness, and I think your team has done an excellent job at this, because so many different habitats must be facing the same situation as yours, but then we are not aware
Just
of them
one more.
as much as yes.
Just one more added. So there's a lot of conservation campaigns in Thailand nowadays. Like they would like to plant the seagrass or the dugong conservation campaigns. There are so many campaigns nowadays, so by many sectors, both governments and then the private sectors. But the thing is that I would like to give I would humbly giving some advice that these campaigns or the program should be long-term monitor, not just like, okay, just we plant the seagrass. Well, from both I and colleagues and many scientists, we noticed that, well, these campaigns are very short campaigns, and they just plant the seagrass and do some very short-term things. And it's good to plant like a plant the forest, plant the seagrass, and do some dugong conservation campaigns, but it's mostly are the short terms, and we are not talking about all the agendas. We're not going to talk about that. But if you want things to be successful and effective, scientifically effective, you should be consider doing things long terms. This is advice for all people involved in Thailand as well. So like we need to shake hands. We need to cooperate to every sectors, NGO, scientists, researchers, the government sectors, and all the public as well. The citizen science are very important as well nowadays, and we can learn a lot, and we can get a lot of information, the quick data from the public, from the citizens. So so it should be the long-term monitoring program, not just the short-term campaign. So I think it could be more benefit for the nature. Yeah, if we have the same goal in the mind, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just watching a video on the press release of one of the documentaries from Thailand, and yeah, well, just wait. Yes, can you hear me? Yeah. So I was just watching this documentary, from the documentary release of, the citizen science, importance of citizen science in dugong conservation in Thailand, and one, I think his name was Dr. Thorn, and Dr. Thorn, he said that he just wants one thing and one thing alone. He said, I just want a minister who knows what a dugong is. That's it. That's all it's going to take, he said. So, I mean, it also, also adding that to what you just said, I mean, not just from minister to the normal people to students to people who are doing dugong awareness campaigns or seagrass awareness campaigns, every single person from there, for us to continue a long-term awareness campaign, apart from research, um, we need to be aware of the importance of what's happening. The gravity of the situation needs to be understood well. I mean, I remember one time some student asking me, okay, so dugong dies, it dies. I mean, I'll be able to snorkel in an empty sea, and I'll rather like that. I mean, understand the naivety, but then we don't understand what that means. The absence of dugongs. Dugongs, uh, they really, they're the when we call them sirens, they are the canaries. They reflect what's actually happening in the habitat. So it's a habitat degraded. It has a lot of pressures from anthropogenic pressures to natural pressures, and the combination of all that. Dugongs won't come there, not as much. You'll see, I've seen that in my sites. That so many sites have historical presence of dugongs and herds of dugongs, but not anymore. So they tend to leave. So it's not good news. If you see dugongs, there's still good news. Your trade practices are doing well. Your fisheries will be fine. You'll be able to get more catch. There is still hope. But if you stop seeing dugongs, that does not mean anything good. That's a really, you should be alarmed. Um, so I think we have one question. I'll just, if you can take it. Yep. So after the population declined in 2010 from 200 to 20 dugongs, did you start getting more and more dead dugong strandings from the area, or have they migrated to other areas? So you've shown that they do migrate.
Yes, they did migrate. I mean, we don't have like a concrete evidence yet about the migratories for each individuals, but we scientists and the DMCR officers, they recognize them from the photo identification. So they say that, okay, um, they saw these dugongs in Phang Nga, and they say that, oh, they used to saw these dugongs in trunks on the Libong Island as well. So that's one of the evidence as well. But sadly, we still have no dugong tagging programs, the successful dugong tagging programs that we can have like a very scientific evidence of their migratory path. Yeah. And about the dugong stranding. So yes, we according from the report that I saw, strandings happens all the years.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
happens in every years, and it seems that just 2024 and 2025, there were like, some say there were like 85 dugongs dead. But from what I saw, there were around 70 plus dugongs were found dead. Uh, so it's what's quite a bigger numbers compared to the past 5 to 6 year prior than that. So there should be something happens going on in the seas that we are not sure about. that. But like I mentioned before, that there were so many factors that involve the dugong's declining. But personally, I believe that because of the global warming thing, so the temperatures rising and the seagrass die off because they exposed too long to the sun, so they were dead. Because even though they are very durable plant species, so things changes, climate did change drastically. So it's a very complex system, right? We all know that the Earth is a very complex place. So everything's worked together,
Yeah.
and there should be a cycle. But the things that I'm fear the most, that if it happens once, it's going to happen twice, and it happens
Yeah.
twice, it's going to be happen again, again, twice, or whatsoever. But in each time, the next events, the next seagrass die off events, the massive loss events is going to be more severe. It's going to be has much more and more impact in each time it happens, because Earth has been drastically changed for the past 50 years. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially if we have like now climate change issues, which are also like we have flooding problems. So the water, seagrasses respond really fast to hypersalinity issues. I mean, it's the same as what happened in Hervey Bay a long time back. Entire seagrass dieback happened due to flooding. And we understand that even in Thailand, last year there was a flooding event. So, I mean, above all factors, when climate change issues are also very prevalent, it becomes in itself a challenge. Yeah.
Mhm.
We have one more question from Akarsh. Akarsh asks, what is the behavior of locals towards the dugongs and like the attitude towards dugongs? And do they have some cultural association, or fishermen don't mind their presence or absence to the animals at all? It's a
Mm.
good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question indeed. So to answer that, uh, dugong still have a very they have like a very strong presence in people's perspective, especially from Trang people, from the Libong Islands people, because dugongs is like a symbol for Trang province in Thailand. So, and peoples on Libong Islands considered dugongs as their own family members. So sometimes they said like if the dugongs die, some family did some funeral for the dugong as well, because they considered them as like a family members. So, and peoples, I mean, the elders and yeah, teenagers and people in these generations, they still have have been taught that they have to preserve the natural resources, um, especially the seagrass and the dugongs, because they were born and raised on the islands, on this province, and they have seen dugongs everywhere in their daily life. Um, but in some cases, in Pratong Islands, in Panga, people there, they also experience the same thing, kind of same thing with the people on in Trang province, but they, well, I mean, dugongs, because dugongs seem to be still abundant in Pratong. From this is what I have been told from the local on Pratong Islands, that uh, well, they see the significance of the dugongs, but I mean, they seem to be very like neutral to the dugongs.
It's
They don't find the
it's
dugong.
mixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mixed feeling. If I don't want to say it's mixed feeling, because it's not negative, and the positive
Negative. Yeah.
or have
Yeah. Yeah.
positive. but they just
Yeah.
they were there since they
They
were
just
born.
don't. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to use the word they don't care. They care. They do care about the dugongs, but they are not. They don't have to set up the funeral for the dugongs like people in Trang. Yeah, and so but they already have a very positive perspective toward the dugongs because some of the local fishermen they use the dugong to be like a indicators or the navigators for the fishing locations
Yeah. Yeah.
because normally if the dugongs feed on the seagrass there should be like a coral reef or fish nearby that location. So because and sometimes fish do like to swim around the dugong. So the fishermen they use the dugong to be like a fish indicators. Let's just go over there and go fish over there, maybe near the dugongs. But they are very being very careful not to catch the dugongs. Mm. But fishery
Yeah.
by catch happens as well. Mm.
So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do understand that there. I mean, people then in these kind of cases, people then just jump to why don't you do captive breeding or, you pick all these dugong, corral them and just start feeding them. And that's expensive business,
Mm.
right? We've seen that it's extremely expensive. That's not at all optimal for dugongs, and there's no guarantee that they'll survive out in the wild. As we've seen, the most famous case for Miriam the calf from your country. So, do you think like maybe in future, say worst case scenario, would you rather want your dugongs to be feeding out in the wild, and or would you want them to have a control be in a controlled way, be fed with cabbage and morning glory?
I mean, from my perspective, I take a side. I take a side on the natural ways. So just leave them alone.
Leave them
So it's
alone, let
maybe
them alone.
yeah, I would like to be really blunt on that. Just like
Yep,
leave the
yep.
animal alone, leave them to the
Yeah,
nature. Yeah,
yeah.
but if we're talking about like the welfare and the well beings, like there are veterinarians in Thailand that do everything in their
That do.
powers to do like a routine uh, health survey and healthcare survey. So
Yes.
that's the only things that I'm
Mm,
well that's
yep.
one of the some of the things that I'm very encouraged to do that. So we the vets help the animals, but for feedings, provisionings, and tourisms or things, I mean we can do like a eco tourisms, right? They have been proved that it can be done. It can be they can minimize the disturbance to the animals. I mean, I encourage that, but we have to be we need to have a very strict guideline about that. I mean, I'm not against like a provisionings or feedings them. I mean, if we have like a very strict guideline just for the officer
Mm,
but not for the public.
mm,
I mean,
mm.
and do gong as well. I mean, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but other countries besides Thailand, they can people can just go swim and touch the dugong freely,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's still
yeah.
but
I don't think
illegal.
that's
Yeah, it's
ideal. I
illegal.
don't think that's a real at all.
Mm. I mean, it's illegal and prohibited in Thailand because it's there are so many
I don't think
causes.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't think that's ideal to. I mean, it's already illegal, but then because at the rate that seagrasses are declining, they're already in some kind of there's pressure on health, and we can easily transmit anything by just touching or being around, snorkeling around them, like the kind of tourism that we have in the Red Sea too, or
Mm.
in Indonesia too.
Mm.
I don't think that's going to help them. I have a couple of like questions, and like I could, you know, learned something. Actually, we learned something, not something, a lot of things from your talk and from all your insights and your experiences. So, I mean, Sagar and your work is almost like in the Andaman Sea and like a similar work. He's also doing the same kind of work, and I think you should, get in contact with him. But then, in the northwestern part where I have worked at, in my throughout my PhD, throughout the 5-6 years that I've worked at the field, I've just seen dugongs 2 times, and I've always chased trails all around the areas. So, I mean, from what I've learned about, after chasing trails for such a long time, I think they're the course that they take when they're when the habitats are under pressure are always very optimal. They don't want to waste a lot of energy. They want to take the least cost path to to travel between habitats. So I think that only can happen when you have adult present in the herd, and whenever there is scarce seagrass, like the season is, especially during the winters, we start seeing herds. That's because the young and the sub-adults don't know where to go, where to look for the foraging areas, right? So you need adult, and we need to minimize adult mortality in these kind of cases so that memories can be transmitted down the generations. So even like adult mortality should be, it's not about minimizing or controlling it. It should be zero if a population is to survive, right? I think I want to know what you think about it. I mean, the importance of having adults in herds, if because then you'll keep on seeing trails all around the place and not in areas necessarily that which are optimal. You'll see, like you said, in places that are already under a lot of fishing pressures. I get very nervous when I see them, in high fishing hotspots. I don't feel good. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing. So the second thing, also important to your side, is that they are traveling all around. They're moving, right? So they are also moving to areas that, I mean, they're very behaviorally heterogeneous. You can't say, okay, this dugong behaves like that, so the entire population must be behaving the same way. You can't do that. They're behaviorally heterogeneous. So it still goes to show if they're moving towards unused or habitat seagrass meadows. We can't just put these meadows on margins, unused meadows on meadows we don't have historical presence of seagrasses, and we can't let that happen. That's also very important. I mean, just because they're unused does not remove their importance. That's what I think I could take away from your from your presentation. It's very important to have alternative habitats.
I mean,
It gives them
the
a
silver,
chance.
the silver lining is that, so I observed this a lot in every province, that in every areas that they have like a seagrass areas and the dugongs area. So I think local peoples and local authorities, they knows that there are dugong and seagrass over there. So in the past couple years, though, maybe more than that, but I have been studying them recently. They start to have like a restrict area that they put the buoy or the flag for all the boats that coming in the
Yeah.
piers areas or the
Yeah.
fishing areas, that you have to control your speed. There are speed control limits in that area because of there are seagrass and the dugongs over there, and they have like I think five, 3 miles or 5 nautical miles from the shore, prohibit from commercial fisheries. You can use the trawl net. You can use the trawl in that area. Yeah, the bigger boats should go out in the oceans or the deeper areas, and they have like a quite strict enforcement. Yeah, in some
Yeah,
area.
that's really good
So
news.
that's really good. And they are not just the authorities; they are NGOs and some locals, people gathering around and trying to do by their own hands. They settle that they establish some. It's not a law or an act. It's more like a common understanding between uh, the tourist operators and or the boat operator that you should not operate your tourism or fishing activities in this area at all. If you want to, yeah, there's speed control, speed limits, uh, yeah, fishing restrict area. Yeah, I mean, it occurs a lot I think in every province that I visit, I saw this area, and it's a very good thing. But some and you said earlier is that uh, it's a bit of what do I say, frightening to see dugongs and dugongs eating in the heavy fishing area because because sometimes the long tail boat in Thailand or the speed boat they can just cut through the dugong's herd because I mean to be honest, to be very neutral about this, captains of the boat sometimes they cannot always see the dugong spot the dugongs, right? So they drive with the high speed and maybe they have sonar. I don't know, but sometimes, well, I saw a lot of times that it happens to the citizen as well, it's like or the jet ski or the speedboat and the long tail boat or the bigger boat. They just drive, cut through the herd, the dolphin's pot or the dugong's herd. So, and every time it's like, hey, I mean, it could be a boat strike or like a propeller cut on the
Marine
dugong.
cuts, yeah, yep,
I
yep.
mean, but from my experience, I never saw that with my own observations. It's good, but the thing is, dugongs in some area they started to get desensitized with all the human factors. That's not good at all. I mean, most of the dugongs they just swam away when the boat approached or when the engines of the boat started. They were quite afraid of that noise, the motorized boat, the sound of the boat engines. And but some of dugongs, and you can experience this in the
Yep.
very old dugongs. I think they have so much experience. They live long enough to know that okay, this is okay. Sometimes they just foraging. They just eat the seagrass and they don't care about all the boat that above them. They was like, okay, so what? So I mean that levels of of calmness in the dugongs was quite surprising in some areas. Like some of dugong,
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
they just don't care
yeah.
about the boat. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen videos from Red Sea too. I mean, those kind of dugong, they are so chill. Red Sea in Marsa Alam, they have very chill dugongs. They're sleeping, on the seagrass bed, and there'll be divers all around. And I'll say, okay, they don't mind, having people around. But then we have other kind of population where they'll not even be, 500 meters around a boat that's making noise. It's
Mm,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's what advice, what takeaways would you like? What advice would you give to young early career researchers who are doing, who are monitoring dugongs using UAV surveys or who are working with the community?
Mm. I think my humble advice is that you cannot change the world alone. Mm. This task is a very daunting and challenging task. It happens on if you want to protect anything natural. I mean, you need to have a very large collaborations between sectors, marine scientists, government, NGO, the funding sources, public citizens, we need to shake hands and do things together. I mean, some people have money, some organizations have powers, have manpowers, some sector has knowledge. So people with money shake hand with people with manpowers, shake hand with people that have the actual knowledge.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we need to work together. Mm. You
That
cannot
was
change
really
the world.
profound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it alone. All
Mm.
right, Dr. New, that was splendid. I mean, I'm sure a lot of dugong researchers and seagrass researchers have taken a lot away from your presentation and from your research. And we hope for the best, even in these kind of cases too. I mean, this could be happening to our habitats too, and so many different habitats, and to researchers all around Southeast Asia watching you. So, um, never to lose hope, always collaborate, always talk, always break ice, right? And I wish things turn out for the better, for Thailand, for Malaysia too, for Indonesia too. One final question, you mentioned money, so I'll ask a question. One final question, and then we're done, I promise. So, if you had unlimited budget and no bureaucracy pressure, what would your lab look like? What would your team look like? That's an ideal situation. Okay. We got
You
stuck.
can't do things. You can't do things without money.
You can do things without, but if you had unlimited budget, what would you do?
If I have unlimited budget, mm, maybe I should quit my job. So, it's just joking. I'm just joking. So
No.
if I have unlimited budget, right, about the conservation campaigns, like
Yep.
so,
Yep.
well, it's very hard questions because I have a lot of things to answer. Well, the first thing that came into my mind is that yeah, it's really hard. It's a very difficult questions. Yeah. So, what would my lab
I
would
mean,
be?
Dugong researchers in Southeast Asia are so used to being poor and resource limited. We can't even think.
I mean, look at this way. Look at this point. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because we have unlimited budgets, I think it hurt a lot of industry about having an unlimited budget because limited
Yeah.
budget bring out people's creativities, right?
Innovations. Yep. Yep.
Innovations and creativities you can see in movie industry. Some movie has a very low budget, but they
Mm-hmm.
can outsmart and have a very well, they can be successful in film
Yep.
industry even though they have like a very small budget films, many indie films, and many things in other industry. So I guess that because of the word unlimited budget or unlimited money, I mean, it's good to have it, but I can say that if we have a proper limited budget, it can bring out more creativities and more tensions, more
Yeah.
creativities about that on the work. Yeah, I'll just leave it with that.
Oh. Yep.
I
Yeah.
answer
I
your
mean,
question with
limited
some
resource is the father of
philosophy.
innovations. Yep. Yes. I would have helicopter service, to be honest, like every single day if I had unlimited budget. I'd fly.
Mm, yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, New, for taking
Mm,
the time, and thank you for, I mean, not just science, but there are so many things and so many conversations that can happen in positively towards Yukon conservation, and not that shouldn't necessarily be scientific. Uh,
mm,
your team and you just showed the importance of empathy and compassion in breaking ice, and it takes perseverance to have that.
mm.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. Yes. All the best.
Bye.